So, what happened to Zom100? Its final 3 episodes just dropped, putting a nice little bow on everything, and I didn't feel great about them. We got a delivery on some long-standing character arcs, closure on the train wreck of the show's production. Hell, the animation and directing quality even picked up again in that last episode. Yet, sitting there at the end of it all, something just didn't feel right. Going into the summer anime season, Zom100 was one of the real standouts. It was colorful and novel and tackled real issues, taking a classic movie monster and updating it to reflect the modern dystopia. Zom100 says, there is a predatory force out there turning human beings into mindless, unthinking drones, and it is corporations. And it was good. This wasn't just an anime with something to say, it had style to say it with. The first episode was a real work of capital A art in a way that is not always easy to find in the anime industry. The animation was top-notch, the directing was top-notch, the voice acting was good, the characters felt real, all was well in the world. It was a show that had something significant to say, but also wanted to have fun saying it. They fought a zombie shark with legs, and it was cool as hell. And then the show abruptly crashed to a halt most of the way through the first season. Production issues, some real irony with the themes of overwork and corporate dysfunction, but that's not what we're here to talk about since it's been covered to death already. As I sat there listening to the end credits on the 11th episode, did I mention the intro and ending songs are amazing? They're great. I mean, look at this. But as I sat there thinking about what I just watched, I started to realize why it wasn't sitting so well with me.
Let me out! I'm innocent, I tell you!
Zom100's main theme at the outset was one that deeply valued people. The corpo jackals stepping on you all day at your bullshit job are bad, because you are a human being with dreams and worth beyond the number on your pay stub. It's a systemic critique, one that points not just at abusive individuals, but at the grinding machine of corporate exploitation that cares nothing for you beyond your impact on its bottom line. Zom100 looks at that system and says, you know what? If the only thing left for me in this life is abuse for the sake of people that don't give a damn about me, I'd rather be eaten by a zombie. Now fast forward to the last arc of the season. They're actually doing something kind of interesting here, introducing a photo-negative version of the main characters who have the same philosophy of taking full advantage of life before it's over, but all their dreams are fucked up acts of vengeance and stuff. It's not a bad idea. There are good ways to do this. Zom100, well, the bad guys let a bunch of zombies into the idyllic farming village and start blowing stuff up. They drive up to the main characters and are like, I am you! We both have a journal. Let's have a battle of ideologies. So everyone pairs off to do their battle. Kenny here runs off to save the small child he's been hanging out with and gets confronted by this guy. He's a salaryman in a job he hates, in a failing marriage with a family that hates him, taking refuge in the one place he can get some peace. His car, before he has to walk back inside to his job or house. His life sucks, okay, and he's gonna do a murder about it. But Kenny is, first off, a rugby champion, so he's not gonna be that easy to push off a roof. More importantly, he points out to this guy, what did you do to fix all that? You moped in your car, avoided your family, but you never made any effort to reconnect with them or improve your life. You are, in fact, the creator of your own suffering.
All women are queens!
And having epically owned him in the marketplace of ideas, Kenny jumps off the roof with the guy before taking refuge in a pit of feces. The guy gets eaten, Kenny finally gets to expose himself to the kid, and we, the audience, are like, ah, okay. This guy was kind of a jerk and complained about reasonable requests from his wife and blamed others while driving angrily, and eventually did try to do a murder. He was bad and he lost because of it, even if he did have a bucket list. Morality restored. Meanwhile, Shizuka is getting chased by this guy in a field. We can tell he is bad and probably a sexual predator because he got drawn fat and with big lips, and he talks like this. He's also wearing braids with pink hairbands, which, I mean, gender nonconformity in most anime might as well just be a t-shirt that says, warning Untermenschen ahead. We're gonna set aside this character design on this guy, even though the show does have kind of a tendency for all the good guys to be conventionally hot and the bad guys to be, this. We're not here to talk about how media connects beauty and morality. This case isn't as clear-cut, though that doesn't mean there's no case here. But anyway, we get this guy's backstory and motives. He's an incel whose goal is to, French kiss a woman, and he has to do it at gunpoint because he is drawn like this. He was a cook at some fancy restaurant, but he never made an effort to learn their systems, and then he tossed a cigarette in the trash one day, burning the place down. He implies that stuff like this happens all the time, and categorically places the blame on other people and a kind of cosmic misfortune. Shizuka, however, turns around and informs him that in fact it was not misfortune. She pulls out some big words explaining that there's a theory, which I'm not going to look up to see if it's legit, that luck is in fact real, but is a product of our own actions. Pro-social actions get pro-social outcomes, she says, and anti-social actions are rewarded in kind. And then, to prove her point, the old people she was nice to earlier come back and save her, and the bad guy gets eaten. Meanwhile, Big Titty German Weeaboo, which, I mean, God bless this show, is facing off against this lady. She was a fencing champion, and she's armed with a hedge trimmer instead of historical reenactor gear, so our girl's on the back foot. This lady explains that she was a middle manager at a company, and that she was mean. She berated people about meaningless stuff, like where the glue sticks get put, and then she would blame people when their projects didn't turn out well. Everyone whispered behind her back, and she was very unpopular, so now she's going to do a murder. But Beatrice explains that, in fact,
この10人十色の世界は本来とても色鮮やかなもの。自分の正義を押し通したくなった時こそそれが間違っているかもと立ち止まってみるゆとりが。
She then does a fancy move she learned from kung fu movies, disabling the water wheel and then running the office lady over with it. Or at least she does in the manga. In the anime, she just drives it past her and she gets eaten by zombies because the show is weirdly averse to the main characters directly killing people. Anyway, we haven't talked about the ringleader, but I think you get the point. We'll touch on him later. Having watched all this, it started to bug me that these guys all show up, exposit their backstories of being disaffected, get epically owned, and then die. But Office Lady and Salaryman were pretty sympathetic in their backstories, and reflecting on it made me realize that they were being framed with a lot less compassion than the show has for its main characters. The protagonists tell them that it's their fault, moral responsibility falls squarely on their shoulders, and then the narrative kills them. Remember what I said the great thing about Zom100 was earlier, aside from its production value? It was compassionate, with a systemic critique leveled at the real ills of society. It's maybe understanding that we're less compassionate here, since these guys are trying to kill our main characters, but we're not even in the realm of systemic critique anymore. The show seems to be trotting these guys out, saying, get a load of these losers, right? And then expecting us to cheer when they get eaten. I mean, hell, Akira seems to have shifted a couple episodes ago to some sort of character arc about fealty to one's parents? We've somehow wandered into Neocon Wonderland, where society doesn't exist and your issues are because you aren't working hard enough.
Was this story of vengeance in the forest based? Not this time.
Now, I can already hear a rebuttal to this, but video essayist, I hear you say. These people aren't victims, they all caused their own problems, and then they tried to do a mass murder. They aren't the same as Akira and company, they do deserve their shitty lives, and their ultimate ends. And you know, Strawman? You're right. These are all bad people, even before the zombie apocalypse and the murders. I mean, mostly. What did she do? She was OCD at work? Oh, okay. But they did try to do a mass murder. And if we're drawing up a list of moral responses, retaliatory violence is on the table. But remember, we're here to do critical media analysis. We're not arguing that these are good people who deserve better in text. We're asking the metatextual question of why the story chose to write them like this, and to spend its final arc talking about them. I'm sorry, but Zom100 just isn't as punk as it was at the outset.
Get rid of it. Sorry, we needed to get rid of that.
Why didn't Akira do anything to change his circumstances back when he was getting abused by his boss? I mean, the show understood this 4 episodes ago.
お前ら黙ってこの俺の言うことに従うべきなんだよ。
すいません、すいません。
おい、一体お前どうしちまったんだよ。なあ、アキラ。アキラ。
忘れられないのよ。どんなに不当な支配だと頭では分かっていても、心が恐怖を忘れられないものなのよ。
It seems like a betrayal of the spirit the show started with. Don't get me wrong, there are parts here I still like. His dad's speech about wanting to see the Earth from space is great and meaningfully adds to what the show is saying. Shizuka gets a nice cap in her character arc, although I kind of wish she didn't just explicitly tell the audience, I mean, come on, have a little faith in us. But still, it's a good character arc, and it's done well. They didn't rush things, they gave it room to breathe and grow. Other anime, take notes. But the overall feeling I was left with after episode 11 was disappointment. It's not badly animated, and the acting is still good, but I didn't fall in love with Zom100 because of the zombie shark. Okay, not just because of the zombie shark. I loved it because it was a show that saw me, right there with me in my darkest moments when I looked at the future and thought, man, you know what? Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to just see it all burn down. Zom100 sympathized with me and encouraged me to think beyond the next day, to consider what I really want from life and then to go get it. Zom100's last episodes, I don't know, there's an argument to be made that they still do. That they're more encouraging because they're telling me that even in shitty circumstances, life is still under my control. But it feels meaner. I don't know if Zom100 would offer me that helping hand, or just declare that it's my own fault and then let me get eaten by zombies. Fuck, I mean, maybe the show is making me better, if only by showing me how important empathy is. I don't want to end on a negative note. We're always trying to be constructive, and there's a lot to work with. I like the idea of an evil version of the party that lets the zombies in and confronts the main characters. It's an opportunity to say explicitly that being a victim doesn't justify doing whatever you want, and you still have a duty to help others and be nice if it doesn't cost you anything. Akira's not good because he does what he wants, he's good because what he wants is to do good. You wouldn't have to change much. Akira basically says as much when they first meet. There are elements of understanding here, if only because the show is trying to draw parallels to the main cast. Just be a little more understanding. Make these guys characters, not caricatures, and tell us how they got where they are. Fat guy, let's call him by name, Naoki. Naoki's a big dude, and he's awkward as fuck around women. He's never even gotten close to having a girlfriend because of how he looks, and he blames women for it. That's not exactly a rare occurrence. He's got a chip on his shoulder, which doesn't help at work. Don't have him burn down the restaurant, just have him be generally disliked and never progress his career since he's kind of unpleasant to be around. Who knows, maybe he's even got gender stuff going on, which makes people even less positively inclined toward the total package. Society is not kind to men who are less than an 8 out of 10 while messing with gender. Shigenobu, our salaryman, I mean, we don't even have to change anything here. Dead-end job, marriage on the rocks. Terrible interpersonal relationships, no prospects for improvement. You can even make him kind of a dick, job done. And Toko, I mean, what is there to say? I know I've got terrible taste, but guys, I could fix her. Okay, but for characterization, again, you don't have to change much. I've been there, the only person on group projects that gives a fuck. People somehow looking down on you just because you care. She's clearly got a superiority complex and probably some OCD, but say she is successful to some degree. She's good at her job, disciplined and detail-oriented, professional. But for a woman in an office, professional isn't always what your boss and coworkers are hoping to get from you. She doesn't have a mind for office politics, maybe she's not great with people, she's there to do her job, and she doesn't understand why everyone else hates her even when she does it well. Then the world ends. All these people, like Akira, are set free from the shitty cages they've been in. Like the gang, they succeed in their new circumstances, but instead of having Akira pushing them to get better, they've got his dark counterpart. Evil Akira exacerbates all their antisocial tendencies in order to keep himself in good company, and eventually leads the group to do something terrible. They have their confrontations, but instead of lecturing them on personal responsibility, the gang tells them, hey, I had a shitty life too. We all did, and that sucks. But you don't see me trying to kill anyone about it. Maybe some get eaten by zombies, maybe some off themselves because they realize they've done something terrible and lose faith that they can ever escape the person their shitty lives made them into. Maybe some take their words to heart and help fix the crisis they caused. They don't have to, join the group. They can go off on their own, finding their own path toward being a good person. And wouldn't that be more interesting? Instead of vanishing instantly, the old world left its scars in the form of people so damaged they can't really move on even after the systems that made them who they are have disappeared. And we know it can work because all of that's pretty much what the leader gets in the last episode. Higurashi gets a level of sympathy and development that his underlings simply do not. We get to see how the world shaped him into what he is today. The editing of the show even picks up the level of artistry to levels we haven't seen since the very beginning. He realizes the error of his ways himself, instead of staying in denial until the very end, and he even does the last-minute redemption thing, using his final moments to lead the zombies away from Akira and his family. It's not perfect. It still goes out of its way to say that he had frankly unrealistic chances to turn things around, and it's fundamentally his fault. But the last note we hear on him is Akira saying that there were times when he wouldn't have been so different, and that he can't really bring himself to hate Higurashi.
かつて自分を見失ってた。毎日が辛すぎて何のために生きてるのかもわからなくなってた。俺が誰もが日暮らしになってたかもしれなかったんだ。
And you know, I can't really bring myself to hate Zom100. The quality dips around the midpoint, it really does bungle its themes with the last arc antagonists, but the note it chooses to end on is one of sympathy. Sure, it could be better. Everything could be better.
Except you stay.
But this show's still trying to get a good message out there, and its portrayal of someone escaping modern societal decay, to have a good time with a group of close friends in his 20s without worrying about, the stuff.
I can't take this shit no more, man.
It has to make it one of the best high fantasy series to come out this year. And that's the video. Thanks for watching. I'm not really a YouTuber or anything, I just wanted to talk about this finale. Here's a griffin I drew last week. He can be like a placeholder YouTube Sona. I guess if we're doing analysis, he needs like sunglasses or something. I don't know if I'm gonna do any more, but if I do, I'll at least put something up here. So you can subscribe if—
Just kidding! It took me so long to edit this. That I had time to properly draw, color, scan, and edit a whole other tiny sunglasses griffin.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational
Channel mascot.
That blast came from the
Channel mascot. In the interim, I was also beset by like 4 other scripts, so I'm definitely going to be doing more of this. I certainly won't be running out of opinions that can charitably be described as engagement driving anytime soon.
What the fuck?
I hopefully don't sound like shit now. Audio equipment is, as it turns out, a whole other nightmare. Anyway, I don't even know how I'm gonna exit this. So, yeah. Goodbye. Until next time, Griffin heads.
Meanwhile, Shizuka is getting chased by a field in— ooh, no.